What was a peaceable Saturday morning suddenly became a political earthquake when Helen Zille, DA federal chairperson, walked in front of cameras and aired what she called the most incriminating set of claims in South African democratic history. For years, South Africans had heard rumblings of corruption in the African National Congress, ANC. There were tales, leaked rumors, and countless commission reports that swirled around corruption and state capture. But never had a senior political figure come out and made a bold claim to have hard proof, not merely against individuals, but against the ruling party itself. With Zille, this evidence, if comprehensively pursued by the police, has the potential to result in criminal prosecutions that send dozens, even hundreds of ANC leaders to prison. Resolute before a tense press conference, she did not sugarcoat anything. What I am going to expose today is not speculation, nor political drama. It is documented, attested to, and cross-checked proof of an organized crime syndicate that has been operating this nation behind the scenes within the ANC. The truth is straightforward. The ANC is no longer a political party. It is now a criminal syndicate disguised as a liberation movement, she asserted. Gasps were allegedly heard in the room as Zille continued describing how she had been handed a store of secret documents, offshore bank details, and whistleblower accounts, incriminating ANC leaders from the very top of government to provincial levels. Her revelations created a picture of corruption so deep that it cut right across every branch of government. Among the most appalling accusations was that billions of rands were drained from state contracts using shell firms run by connected businessmen. Not one, not two, but ministries as a whole, Zille asserted, had been converted into cash machines. She asserted that secret bank accounts in Dubai, Switzerland, and the Cayman Islands were allegedly controlled by top ANC officials. As per the documents, huge amounts were shifted out of South Africa in the name of developmental projects but were diverted into personal ownership, states the report. Zille further claimed that some of the globe's largest companies made illegal deals with ANC elites, knowingly offering them kickbacks in return for good policies and access to South Africa's natural resources. The facts, she maintained, indicated a concerted pattern of cover-ups, investigations abandoned, witnesses silenced, whistleblowers threatened or assassinated, and crucial documents destroyed. Most incriminating was her assertion that parts of state money were being used in secret to finance ANC election campaigns, an illegal action that could annul a number of previous elections, if accurate. The disclosure ignited a record-breaking storm in the country. Social media erupted within minutes of Zille's press briefing, with hashtags such as #IngExposed, #Bombshell, and #Geltekrap trending all over the country. The average South African, tired as she is of constant rolling blackouts, unemployment and perpetual corruption scandals, voiced a combination of anger and bitter satisfaction. For most, Zille's reveal was merely confirmation of what they had long known. Organizations of civil society acted promptly. Pressure groups such as UTA and Corruption Watch vowed to mobilize the public to see that this proof was not covered up. Even some activists demanded an emergency sitting of Parliament in order to discuss whether the ANC continued to have a role in government. While such serious charges were looming over its head, the roads in Johannesburg and Cape Town sections were said to have burst into ungoverned protests, with citizens calling for resignations and probes to be launched immediately. Overnight, graffiti with slogans such as ANC equals mafia and a justice now materialized on government structures. The ANC did not waste time responding. In a hastily convened counter-press conference, party spokesperson Poom branded Zille's allegations as a desperate move to destabilize South Africa. This is mere dear attempts to score political points because they realize they cannot beat the ANC at the ballot box, he maintained. But behind bravado, political observers were heard muttering that the ruling party had been seized by panic. Senior politicians were said to be in crisis meetings around the clock, and a few said the fear of wholesale arrests followed if prosecutors took seriously Zille's evidence. A senior ANC source who requested anonymity said in local media, "If half of what she has said is true, then a few of our most influential people will not last the day politically or legally." Constitutional analysts and lawyers are already considering the possible consequences. If Zille's accusations hold water in court, South Africa may witness the biggest criminal trial in its history. Constitutional lawyer Professor Dlamini explained to journalists, if Helen's submissions hold up in a court of law, then we are not going to see isolated arrests. We could be looking at a scenario where the ANC as an entity is being investigated under organized crime legislation that would fundamentally alter South Africa's political trajectory. Other commentators opine that the revelations have the potential to precipitate an unprecedented constitutional crisis. If it was shown that the elections had been manipulated by illegal money, there may be demands to retrospectively challenge the results, something that would leave the nation in uncharted legal waters. For ordinary citizens, the moment presents itself as a possible moment of reckoning. The ANC, which was once celebrated as the heroic movement that liberated the nation from apartheid, now finds itself accused of betraying its own people on a historic scale. The party's liberation legacy versus the criminal capture charges could not be more starkly contrasting. Street interviews expose raw emotion. A young graduate from Soto told us, "My parents had belief in the ANC, voted for Mandela. But now we are living in darkness, no work, corruption everywhere." Zille is saying what we all know. An elderly pensioner was more skeptical. Though we should not forget that the DA too has an agenda. I asked to wait and see whether the courts uphold this before I start believing it. Globally, Zille's allegations have also made international headlines. International news agencies such as the BBC, Aljazeera, and CNN soon picked it up, reporting it as a corruption scandal that could bring down Africa's oldest liberation party. Rating agencies and investors are said to have started reviewing South Africa's political risk profile with cautionary warnings that foreign investment would flee if the instability intensified. Some foreign governments quietly made it known that they would be following events closely, especially in light of the inclusion of international companies in those documents. If multinationals are involved, this may spark investigations not only in South Africa but in a number of other jurisdictions. Zille concluded her press briefing on a strong note. ANC said they would bring freedom, but what they have brought is chains of corruption, chains of poverty and chains of betrayal. South Africans are entitled to justice, and justice, however late, must at last be done.